Frank Twum Barimah was born in Ghana in 1980. His father, the Reverend Kwaku Twum Barimah, was a Presbyterian minister, his mother Joyce, a teacher. As a child, Frank attended a Presbyterian school and was heavily involved in the church's youth program. After high school graduation, Frank's dream was to attend the University of Ghana to study economics. Unfortunately, there was a lengthy waiting list to enroll. Frank was behind 20 to 30,000 students. Frank worked with his family in the ministry as he waited to get to move up the list. During this time, a 21-year-old Frank met George Carpenter, a Presbyterian minister and Maryville College alumnus. George had come to Ghana in a missionary capacity, working with Frank's father's ministry. There was an immediate connection between Frank and George. As they spent time together, it became obvious to George that with the right education, Frank had the potential to achieve great things. George was impressed with Frank's leadership abilities, his work ethic, and his strong faith in God. God was calling George to become a bigger part of Frank's journey. He told Frank's parents that he thought in order to fill his immense potential, Frank needed a college education. Frank's father knew this as well and was very excited to discuss it with George. There were so many obstacles in Ghana, and Frank's father knew that getting Frank into college was an uphill climb. George assured him he would join the fight. George began making phone calls. As a resident of Greensboro, North Carolina, he started with UNC Greensboro. He learned that Frank would be charged with out-of-state tuition and would not be eligible for much, if any, financial assistance. However, his contact at UNC, without the knowledge of any familiarity George might have of Maryville, suggested he contact a small Presbyterian college with a reputation for helping international students, Maryville College. George began a 3-year journey on Frank's behalf that included negotiating with the U.S. Embassy in Ghana, navigating all of the hurdles an international student faces in coming to the U.S., and working on a financial plan to make this all feasible. With God's help, George was finally able to get Frank a student visa and make an enormous amount of headway in the way of scholarships and funding. Jamestown Presbyterian, a congregation served by George and Carol Carpenter, stepped in to sponsor Frank and provide some financial backing. Members of Starmount Presbyterian in Greensboro also would join the effort. In August of 2000, Frank boarded a plane in Ghana headed for the U.S. Upon his arrival at Maryville College, he made an impression on the students and faculty that mirrored what George Carpenter had seen: intelligence, work ethic, commitment, sincerity, and affability. As George expected, Frank flourished at Maryville. He was a class senator, resident advisor, and a Bonner Scholar. He worked with the Boys and Girls Club as well as Habitat for Humanity. Frank was awarded the International Student of the Year Award twice. Frank majored in business and organization management. He developed an important relationship with his advisor, Dr. John Gallagher. Dr. Gallagher was an academic advisor, but soon became a man Frank considered a mentor. Dr. Gallagher predicted great things from his mentee. In a story printed for the college's 2002 President's Report, he said this of Frank: "He's unfailingly friendly, energetic, engaging, strongly rooted in his culture and his faith, but also very curious, inquisitive, and interested in learning. He will become one of our preeminent alums." After graduation, Frank attended the University of Tennessee. He earned his master's degree in public administration and took a position as a residence education coordinator for Armstrong College, where he was awarded Employee of the Year. God's and George's plan had always been for Frank to return to Ghana. Now that he had received the necessary education and life experience at Maryville College, UT, and Armstrong, the time to return had come. A Bible verse that Frank first learned growing up in his father's church had resonated with him throughout his life. Matthew 25, verse 14 reads, "For the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country, who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods." With the spirit of this verse in his heart, Frank returned home to work for the needy, those who had no opportunity to become educated, those with no food or water, those whose life had been ravaged by natural disaster, those in danger and living in fear for their lives. Frank accepted an opportunity to work with World Vision International, an organization centered on ending hunger and providing food security to those in need. He began as a program manager in Ghana. Now, based in Niger, he is a regional manager tasked with emergency relief for 9 countries, including Uganda, Senegal, Sudan, and Sierra Leone. His occupation takes him to locations devastated by natural disaster, like the 2017 mudslides in Sierra Leone, where more than 1,000 people were killed and 3,000 were left homeless. He travels to areas where stringent security measures must be taken due to terrorist organizations, such as Boko Haram. He served the hungry in the aftermath of the Ivorian crisis, where allegations of election fraud led to violent uprisings, leaving many without food or water. Frank is thankful for his wife, Aliyah. They met soon after Frank returned to Ghana. Like Frank, Aliyah has a servant's heart. She understands what he is doing, why he is doing it, and what it entails. Aliyah is a development practitioner focusing on early childhood development. Married for 5 years, Frank and Aliyah have 2 beautiful children, a daughter, Jaina Anima, and a son, Jax Kofi. Frank's journey so far is an exceptional one. From a boy in Ghana struggling to get an education to an accomplished man fulfilling his God-given mission to help those who need it most. He credits Maryville College with giving him not only the necessary education, but also the confidence and leadership skills necessary to succeed in his role. In the 20 years since the Alumni Association began accepting nominations for the Kin Takahashi Award for Young Alumni, no other recipient has lived a life more characteristic of the award's namesake than Frank Twum Barimah. Both Kin and Frank were international students at Maryville College. Both made a tremendous impact on the campus community, and both returned to their native countries after graduation, using their education to carry out God's work. Maryville College is proud to honor Frank Twum Barimah with the Kin Takahashi Award for Young Alumni. We're exceptionally proud of his accomplishments to date and can't wait to see how and where his life is used next.